Off the Leash is off and running. Week 15 in the books for the Cleveland Browns. Mark Schwab, Leah, Doherty, Ashley Holder with you for the big show.
Hello.
The big program. True-false question of the week, ladies. We start there every time. Will, not should, will Kevin Stefanski win Coach of the Year?
Well, I would like to say I called this back in the preseason. I believe it was before Ashley started with us, but we did. I think Ashley's mic is off, potentially.
I figured that.
Hi.
He's already.
It's just like, I don't understand. What week are we in?
He's like,
we are.
He's like, it's a Monday. I just don't want to hear from Ashley today.
Oh my
I'm just going to
gosh,
turn her
dude.
all the way down. But our intern, do you remember our intern, Steve? He did.
Intern Steve.
He did
Yes,
a
he did a
whole
poll.
preseason poll. And I had said preseason, like, Coach of the Year, I think is going to be Kevin Stefanski. So, right now I'm missing you. That was your question, if he's going to be Coach of the Year. Correct?
You got to stick with it at this point. You've come this far.
So, obviously, I could not foresee all of the injuries and all the just horrible things that were going to happen to this
Doesn't matter.
team.
Own that.
But
Live in it.
well, yeah, but that now backs up
Yes.
my thought process I had in the preseason of how much he's been able to do with truly so little. And so many times when people have counted out this team with all of the injuries, like we talk about every single week, when Nick Chubb went down, everyone was like, man, the season's basically over week 2. Let's just go ahead and call it. So what he's been able to do with everything that's been thrown at them, and they're still finding ways to win 10 games. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the fact that they have all these ridiculous amount of injuries and they're still winning says a lot. But I know that sounds weird, and this might be an unpopular decision. I feel like it goes down to the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator,
It's a
because
total group,
those are
yeah.
the guys that don't really get as much of the like shine
Credit
as
that they
as Stefanski gets. And man, Schwartz been in this game, like, you know what I mean? Stefanski is young still. We remember that. Still has a lot of experience,
Right.
of course, but I'm just saying, it definitely is a whole collective for all of them. I'll tell you that for sure, because I think Schwartz, no matter what, out of everything, has so much pressure on him because that defense has to show up every day. And then how many people, when they put the graphic up of how many defensive players were out on that defense, and boom, still making it happen.
So do you think he wins it?
Yeah, I think if they were to win out or even just win 2 more games,
Hit 10 wins at least.
I think that he should. I think he wins it, because what other team has a better coach, has a better story?
What other
really
coach
right now
has done more
that's
with
overcome?
less?
Yeah, exactly. That would make you
Right.
say like,
So I think he should. I think he should if all things continue, but I don't think
it's
he
possible,
will.
like
I just
49ers if they win out. I
just-
mean, maybe.
I just think it's where the Cleveland afterwards. I feel like Cleveland is going to feel screwed. I think it's either going to go like D'Amico Ryans at Houston, who's done a great job. Nobody thought they'd be any
That's a
good.
good point.
I think somebody might give it to Campbell with Detroit. I think you can make a
No.
case for Bowles with the Bucks. I'm not saying these people
Right.
should win it over Stefanski.
Right.
I just don't feel like he will, because I don't know. Maybe I'm just waiting for the bad things because I've been in this town too long.
So what's your call? Who do you think it would go to if you were to make a guess?
Houston, D'Amico Ryans. Or they go name brand and just give it to Shanahan in San Francisco because they love him. Or McDaniel in Miami because they love him. But I think Kevin Stefanski has the best case for it. I think Zach Taylor is starting to make a case, but he will never win it because Stefanski's done without a quarterback longer and has had more injuries than Zach Taylor.
4.
So I think Stefanski should get it over anyone. I just don't. I'll be surprised if he does.
Is there a scenario in which he gets it and then doesn't get extended?
No. No, the Haslam's
like,
liked
that'd be
him before the
crazy.
year. So obviously they're and they're going to love this, and he'll get an extension. So
Yeah.
no, I don't think that happens. We heard from Kevin. We had a Zoom call on Monday, and I want to start there because, I mean, it was obviously a very crazy game against the Bears, and we'll get into that. I do think for a guy that doesn't show emotion
Or comment on
often,
a lot.
or comment on a lot, he always gives these most vanilla, generic answers. And then he got asked about Myles Garrett. And we're just going to let this rip for about a minute because I thought this was pretty good. I think you did too.
The way Myles is playing is unbelievable. I mean, if I can, I'll get on the soapbox here for a second, but he's the best player on the best defense in the league right now. And go put the tape on, watch play number 4. and watch how it's a gain of 3, but watch how they try to block him. He won't be denied, gets the guy on the ground. And I think what happens with our game, we get so wrapped up in sacks. He makes a play on a crack toss late in the game that loses 6 yards. And if it's a sack, it people think it adds to the statistics or whatever. He's dominant as a defensive player. So he's the defensive player of the year. I don't think it's close. And he's going to finish strong for this football team. But to get so wrapped up as we do as a football society when it comes to sacks, I mean, just talk about the guy that affects the game, that pressures the quarterback, that plays the run, that plays with unbelievable effort. I don't know that there's anybody in the same realm as him.
If you look at the stat sheet, it says 2 tackles, 1 assist, no sacks, and Kevin Stefanski essentially saying, "Shove your stat sheet."
Because there's so many like intangibles that don't show up on a stat sheet. And what I thought he might have gotten his soapbox on was the amount of calls that Myles Garrett did not get on Sunday. I saw like montages on Twitter of all
him
like
getting
the
held.
face masks, all the holding
He's getting
calls.
scratched like a feral cat.
When he literally had been talking last week about not getting any calls.
Yeah, well, defenses are literally going into their game plan trying to stop Myles. Like you can't. Their offense. My bad. Saying it backwards. They're going into their game plan trying to avoid Myles or how to stop Myles. And that should tell you right now why he should be Defensive Player of the Year. But it sucks, because people do look a lot at stats and things like that. And
what, that he hasn't recorded a sack and
and that's what they were talking about on the 5th quarter. Eric and Josh were like, this could end up hurting him because they're triple teaming him and they're double teaming him and things like that. And he's still producing, but it's not what he's doing before. Because again, everyone's just focused on Myles.
Yeah.
So.
And when you have the number 1 defense in the league and everybody is prepping for one guy, that should show you if that's the top player on what's
the
supposed
guy
to be the number
jumped
1
like
defense.
8 inches in the air. Freaking flat foot.
He does stuff like, you guys won't remember. I'm sure you know the name Bruce Smith. Mm-hmm. One of the most dominant defensive ends to ever play. And I remember a game, the Bills are playing Indianapolis, and the Colts triple teamed Bruce Smith, the center, guard, and tackle. From center all the way to the left of the line, they just went after 78. That's all they're going to do. They weren't going to, and that's kind of what, there are plays he's got to deal with stuff like that. And that's where it's like, geez, oh man. Imagine those offensive meetings. Like, here's what we're going to do.
Right.
We're going to take 60% of our offensive line and throw it at that guy. It's not on every play, but
stop 95.
That's exactly what it is.
I just like picture them in meeting rooms and they walk up and just like slap a photo of Myles Garrett up on the wall and they're like, this is the game plan. Stop him. That's the game
That's
plan.
the guy.
Which is opening, what you hope is opens up, more opportunities for guys like Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson and Maurice Hurst and things like that. Like, I mean, if you want to focus on Myles, then cool, but don't forget that whole D-line is crazy, right? So let them do what they want to do. It's been working so far. So
what a show! The score is obviously not indicative of how well the defense played. The pick 6, another interception back to the 1-yard line. They basically gave up like 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. Technically, they gave up 3 points because the other 2 touchdowns came from turnovers. So,
I know stats don't always matter. That's fine. I'm going to look at David Njoku's 14 targets, 10 catches, 104 yards. How many times early in the season on this show were we talking about when is the Njoku breakout coming?
So much.
And that wasn't, I mean, I don't want to say that's his breakout game because he's had some big games along the way, but that's his biggest game.
Well, and he now has, 5 receiving touchdowns as a career best for him. He and Amari Cooper both had over 100 receiving yards on Sunday. We haven't seen that this season. Like, had multiple guys step up that they could go to. I'm not sure. I'd be interested to go back and look at their other games. Have they ever had 2 guys that had over 100 receiving yards in a game?
At some point they have. Yeah. They've been around a long time, but I don't know.
No, this season is what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know if we've had 2 different guys this season that have had over 100 receiving yards in a game. And I know, like, there was big chunk plays from Amari Cooper, right? Like, that touchdown was like 51 yards.
Right.
So, like, that's literally half of his stats right there. But to have
still did it.
To have guys like that that have stepped up, especially when there is a non-existent run game and a non-existent O-line. I mean, that was huge. That was the game.
And I think you can't forget that Njoku can catch the ball and then still get like 5-6 yards on the ground. He's
Right.
gonna stiff arm you, just
over
shove
everybody.
your butt
Yeah.
and just keep on going. But one person that I was excited to see, even though it was his one catch, 57 yards, is Marquise Goodwin. I think we're not utilizing him enough, and I would love to see Flacco go a little bit more at Goodwin. Granted, I know he was hurt a little bit
Gone
with the
for a while.
concussion, right? But even before that, non-existent, quiet. I would love to see him get in the mix a little bit more, because I think that he could as well on here, how they all have over 100. He could probably put up, like, again, one catch was 57, right? He very well could go to 100 as well.
That's his game. I mean, he could hit 2 for 105.
Yeah, and he's fast.
Yeah.
He's fast. He's a track star, man.
mean-
So let him get off, get that catch to him. I mean, that throw to him, let him catch it, and boom, take off.
The man was born in Lubbock, Texas. You already know
Oh, geez,
I'm high up on this guy, and I'm waiting for him to have those games. He's got it in him.
I hope he, and obviously Cedric Tillman, they want this guy to have the ball.
So-
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like he was targeted 67 times.
All right, so that's funny what you brought that up, because that's where I was going next. And I felt like I should just direct this question to this side of the table, because Leah is not the one who is a Tennessee Volunteer. Is Cedric Tillman a thing? Or is he just the guy that happens to be left over and they're throwing to him? I think he might be a thing.
Is that a real question?
Mute Ashley. You're gonna get
that a
her.
real
You're gonna
question?
make her mad.
This guy, where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to school?
I went to the Ohio Center for Broadcasting.
Okay. Of course he's a real thing. I mean, of course. Why do you think they're throwing? They targeted the guy, what,
He had
freaking 8 times?
8 times. 8 targets. Here's
Yeah.
his last 3 games: 8 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets. That's 18. That's 18. That's averaging 6 targets a game.
They don't ever want to mess up with a ball again?
We did not see this out of DPJ. I know David Bell hit the one big one, but generally he's been kind of a nothing burger. Goodwin, we just talked about, hurt, but he doesn't get this type of attention. They are, I don't want to say...
I like that they're spreading it
going after
around,
him.
though. Yeah. Oh, no, they're for sure they're going after him. But I did think at one point, I was kind of like, ooh, okay, let's go somewhere else. You know, let's not keep going to Cedric the entire time, right? But I like that Flacco's able to spread the ball around. And, like, just imagine once they're able to get that run game going a little bit more. But also, we know that the weather was crap that day. Everybody was slipping. It wasn't, like, a sexy game as far as on the ground.
And you had no line, so
Exactly,
you're
yeah. So it's like
hanging
everything
on
is
by
not going to
thread.
be 100%. But when you can put all those phases together,
Completions to 9 different
crazy.
receivers. So in 3 games, he's completed, I think, to 9, to 8, and now 9 again. Targeted 10. Harrison Bryant didn't get his one. There goes back to the spreading the ball around, and boy, they've been good. Sometimes you see the ball gets, when you get to see, it's not all 22, but the replay report, I think the good one play, you see him break free, and you're like, oh, yeah. You know, if it's DTR in there, that's not happening. If that's Walker in there, that's not happening. Flacco will crush that throw. That's a bomb and a big hitter. He did have 3 picks. The first one, I can't remember the receiver. It might have been Tillman. It looked like there was some miscommunication. He threw it to a spot. The receiver kept going. It was right at the DB. Second one, he threw it into a crowd. It was hit receiver tipped, intercepted. The third one, down by the goal, I just thought that was a hell of a play. I think it was Tyreek Stevenson.
yeah, that was a nice. That was just. They was going to Njoku on that one.
yeah.
It was just a nice play.
And even the analyst
That's the-
said
yeah.
he got him because
Yeah.
Njoku was wide open, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden this
that was
dude,
a nice play.
bam!
Yeah.
Well, to me, it looked like
And
it was a
sometimes you
little.
gotta just say that.
Yeah, it looked like it was underthrown, right? I mean, that there wasn't just enough gas to get to Njoku there.
I
That's
don't
what
think so. I
Really?
thought it was.
I
A
thought it
good,
was
I
just
thought
a-
he was. It was right there. I thought like it was like you said. I thought it was just a
Because
good
Njoku
play.
was a little. He was like behind it. It wasn't right where
He
Njoku was.
wasn't really behind it. I mean, if anything, it was what? It was like a little shorter necessarily, not
Yeah.
a bunch. But I think you also have to credit people that it's not always like Flacco or whoever, a quarterback doing a bad play.
No,
like
it's an
other people are
incredible
just making.
interception.
They're
Yeah,
just
he
making plays,
dove
and I
right
think
in front
and
of
I think
it.
that that's what it was. He just made a good play. Like his head was on a swivel, and he saw where it was going.
I wanted to talk about the run game. It will probably be a brief conversation because there's not much to discuss.
There wasn't, yeah.
8 carries, 20 yards for Ford, 7 for 8 for
Run game
Hunt,
wasn't good on either
2
side
for 2.
necessarily.
No, but Jerome Ford, it was on the Monday Zoom, right? Ford talked about the run game and essentially like what was going on. Let's hear from number 34.
You know, I guess they have a little effect, but you know, we don't. I guess you could say that, you know, the run game, you know, it isn't, I guess, up where it could be. Got new guys coming in, filling in, and they're doing a good job. I just feel like, yeah, the run game might not be perfect, but we're still able to win games. And I feel like the best stat at the end of a game is a W. So, whether the run game is good or not, as long as we get the W, I feel like we're good with that.
I wouldn't say that the offensive line injuries only affected the run game a little. I mean, I think it's a big difference. Obviously, you have the weather and other stuff going on. That wasn't the only factor yesterday, but only having one starting offensive lineman that you went into the season with, only one. And what Stefanski said today, that Batonio and most of the guys that got injured yesterday are day-to-day, correct?
Joins the rest of us.
We don't have like a... Yeah. We don't have like a definitive, it looks bad, he could be out for however long, or it was like a back injury, but we're not sure exactly. Right. But when you only have one, you just have Wyatt Teller out there fighting for his life, amongst everybody else, I think that makes a difference.
That certainly does, especially, I mean, their guards are road graders, right? And those guys are such a big part of the run game. I don't know if that's everything, but that's certainly, at some point, you can say, okay, you're down a bunch of linemen. I can kind of see how that goes. This game with the Hail Mary, we're all sitting here talking, yeah, they won, great game.
Mooney's got to feel like that.
If Mooney catches a ball,
he should have caught that ball. And that's simple. He should have caught it.
Everything.
Maybe the tides are turning here, because that would be a Cleveland way to lose. Would it not? I mean,
totally.
Just from what you've seen. So, maybe the luck.
I don't know, man. I've seen it on the Hail Mary, and, you'd be like, there's no way that happens. I remember when covering the Bills in Arizona when they played the Cardinals, and freaking Hopkins went over Micah Hyde and what was the other guy? I can't think of
the other guy.
I can't think of his name right now. But literally, they're all three up in the air, and somehow Hopkins still catches it and comes down with it.
I mean, the guys talked about that play yesterday too in the locker room.
It literally just makes no sense when something like that happens. You know what I mean? It's just, I literally thought that could happen. And he was in good position to do it, but when that ball bounced up off of him, I was like, ooh, thank goodness.
David Njoku offered a quote I guess we could play here because the FCC has no power here on the internet, but we're not going to because it's a family show. That's the quote you've seen thrown around
funny.
A lot.
Yep. I mean, all the guys, we went around the locker room and asked all the guys what they thought in that moment. And and Amari Cooper described it. He was like, well, normally he was like, you couldn't tell when you were looking, you couldn't see what exactly was happening because it's just everybody's going all up at once.
Right.
So he said, you normally listen to the crowd to hear the crowd's reaction. But he was like, at first the crowd's reaction didn't sound good, but then they started cheering. So we're like, I think something good happened. And then they were like, oh my gosh, our guy, he ended up coming up with it. D'Anthony Bell ended up coming up with it. But he was like, we listened to the crowd and the crowd didn't sound good at the very beginning.
And excuse me, JOK talked on Monday about he was not in on the final
unsung
Hail Mary,
correct.
but he was in on the first half one. So he got asked, it was on Sunday, I think. He got asked about just in general defending the Hail Mary. We always hear knock it down, but sometimes there's a little more to it than that. So let's hear from JOK.
I wasn't on the field the last one, but the first one, I think that, nerve-wracking is, maybe that's a bad term for us. I think as players, we've been in these situations so much, whether it's college, high school. Of course, there's more on the line now that, we have established ourselves in a position to make the playoffs, not only make the playoffs, but really to win those games. I think that each and every snap is something that we take not for granted. So we want to make sure that, each and every step is taken with that sense of authority to say, okay, this may be the play. This may be the one. But especially the Hail Marys, when the ball up in the air for so long and everybody's staring at it, you want to make sure that you can find your right spot. In that first one, you kind of like watching the ball go up. And for me, I'm not even about to jump. Even though I do believe that I could probably, get up above, half of those guys over there, but it's fine. I just stayed on the ground and was waiting for the ball to tip because usually that's what happens. And as you saw in the last one, the ball tipped again. On about 90% of those plays, the ball tips somewhere. So yeah, that's definitely not necessarily nerve-wracking, but it's more of just wanting to execute, wanting to make sure the ball's on the ground or make sure that you gain possession of that ball. But yeah, I guess that's a better way to answer it.
So after making the play in the first one, how was it that you were not on the field for the last one?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was interesting though, because after the game, D'Anthony Bell was talking about the moment, the final Hail Mary, and he was like, "Those plays just feel so long. It just feels like you're waiting forever for that ball to come. You're just sitting and watching and watching, and
like slow motion.
Yeah, and while you're not, maybe like JOK said, like you're not necessarily like nervous, right? You've been in those situations before, but it's just like there's just so much anticipation. You're just like, okay, like hurry up, let's have the ball get over here, because everyone knows what's happening, and you're all just huddled down there waiting.
It's time to go.
I want to say this, and I'll say his whole name. Jeremiah Owusu-Komo, man, he is an unsung hero of that defense. People don't pay attention to him enough. Myles Garrett gets a lot of, attention and the D-line and stuff like that, but he is arguably probably one of the best linebackers in the NFL right now. He's having an amazing year. He was behind Grant Delpit, second in tackles. He's obviously probably going to be leading this team with Grant on IR. His ability to rush the passer, the way he got after Justin Fields, he's flying all over the field. I mean, JOK, man, he's such a good defender, and I don't think he gets enough praise for the play he gets, and that team has to extend him. He's phenomenal. He's done well this year, and I mean, it's only going to get better for him. He is a tough linebacker, and he does not get the praise he deserves. He really doesn't.
He's having a big year.
He's having a great year.
I think he's starting to the last few weeks. People are talking about it a little bit. You're right, generally.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's hard when you got all these people on the defense that, you still get left in there. Like,
right.
I mean, JOK, we just talked to him for the first time the other week.
It was during the week. It was
last week
Wednesday
was the first
Thursday.
time outside of that since I've been here, at least, that they've had him come up to a podium like that. So, I mean, got to give credit where it's due. He's having an amazing year.
All right,
amazing year.
We'll wrap this up here with this. The Browns are 9-5 at Houston, home to the Jets, at the Bengals. They have a real shot to win 12 games. I'm not saying they will, but they have a real shot to do it.
Yeah, I mean, even the division is still kind of weird for me, because you still have Baltimore that is going to the 49ers. Yeah. Then they're going to be, I know they have Steelers, and then who is that middle game they have in the middle? I
will look.
Because I wasn't sure.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami. So they have 49ers, Miami, and then with the Steelers, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's like crazy, because I was sitting here today trying to put all these different types of things together of where they might go. Okay, maybe it could be Jacksonville, but Jacksonville doesn't have just an easy stretch for the rest of the season. Then you still have so many South players that have to play each other and whatnot, and now they're all the same between the Texans and all that. I'm like, man, it's just crazy. But it made me excited for the Browns, because I was feeling like, oh shoot, like they could go to a wild card and they could win this wild card.
Totally.
Like I wasn't feeling like that before, but now I'm like, nah, these teams who they're gonna play in the wild card is someone that they've seen, and that they can beat.
They can play with
on
those
the
guys.
road or not. I was actually really getting excited about it today. I was like, dang, like this is.
Can you imagine?
I'm excited about it.
You imagine
really
a playoff game in Baltimore with Joe Flacco under center
that's
for
what
the
we were
Browns?
talking about. That would be amazing. That'd
be wild.
That's what I would love to see. I mean, just the optics of that, of him going back, and oh my God, what if he led him to a victory?
That'd be crazy.
Oh my God.
It gives fire to the argument that the NFL is scripted.
I'll tell you right now, for real. And if that does happen, I don't care, dude. You got to give some of Deshaun Watson. Got to give that money to Flacco, at least some of it, because it wouldn't make no sense to me. Like now we have another question of what the heck is going on at quarterback for real.
When you can just tell, I mean, the guys were talking about it yesterday after the game. You can just see such a difference when you have a veteran quarterback out there, because everyone's saying Joe Flacco threw 3 interceptions. I can't believe they came back and found a way to win. And how do you respond from something like that? And Amari Cooper was like, I mean, I haven't obviously played with him before, but he was like, he's a vet. I'm sure he's had games where he's thrown 3 picks before. Yeah. Like that happens. But the way that he's able, and Flacco yesterday was like, believe me, like you want to crawl in a hole and not see anybody, and it sounds awful, but like you don't have a choice. Like you have to respond, you have to step up in those moments. And I think so many times when we've seen adversity come towards the Browns, or specifically towards their quarterbacks, like they haven't been able to respond in big ways like that.
And that's what a veteran quarterback does for you.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
You don't see him going crazy and like getting down, like all right, as soon as he threw the picks, he sat on that bench and was like, And just sat there and waited until he came back up there.
And even though the atmosphere, because it was weird. I was talking to people in the press box yesterday. You would have thought when they were down 17-7, 17-10, like you would have thought they were getting blown out. I mean, there was no energy in that place at all until
there was people who were leaving too.
Until Amari Cooper's touchdown, and then it was like they were still in this game the whole time, but it didn't feel that way.
But you know what makes me a little nervous about that is when they go up against, again, a more competitive team too, right? You can't have these certain mistakes. Like those 3 picks could kill you against the Ravens, right? So you got to hope that those type of things necessarily don't happen.
If you're going to have that game, have it against the Bears.
Exactly. You want to have it against a team like that. And shout out to our guy, Dustin Hopkins, for making once again another 34-yarder field goal. That's our guy. That's our bestie in our minds.
With the putter.
I love that. I love
amazing. Yeah, Corey was like, I mean, I just hold the ball for him. That's it. And we were getting ready to go interview Dustin, and he was like, I'm not the guy you guys want to talk to. He was like, Corey had an incredible performance today, and like brought him in, and they're just the cutest.
Yeah,
like,
so we are team Dustin Hopkins over here for
all the
sure.
way. They're just they're just amazing.
Final question, because the last few weeks I've gotten into trouble for this. Can I play the music?
I don't know.
Funny because
what do you think?
Me and you were sitting here talking, and he was ready to hit it. He was ready to hit it.
You were allowed to do that
because all the viewers don't tune in for Mark; they tune in for Ashley and
Nobody's
Leah,
here to look
and
at
that's
me.
cool. Absolutely not. That's why we don't have the camera on you very much. Just saying.
Ladies, this is a hoot. Browns jump to
Christmas
9 and
game.
5.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Bye.